Well, hi everyone, and welcome to another live session. I'm with Andrea Lagrou. Great to see you, mate.
Great to see you too, mate. Always a pleasure.
We don't have Kylie. Always good to see you too. We don't have Kylie today. She's up in where's she? Bali.
Bali, yeah.
Brainstorming in Bali at the moment. So we wish Kylie. She's probably watching. So wish Kylie all the best. But special guest today. Like, tell us. This is a treat. We've got the lovely Andrea with us today, and a nice guest in our show. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you, Arthur, and thank you, Bram.
Yeah.
It's great to be here.
Now, I hope Bram didn't really twist the arm for you to present today, but I'm sure he didn't. But I'm looking forward to the topic today, customer service excellence. It's a very broad topic, but obviously you guys are doing something that you feel is worth sharing with the business. But first and foremost, married, child, working together.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you believe it that we still like each other's company?
Not for everyone. I mean, I've seen everyone, like some people try and not turn out. Obviously, you guys have been working together for quite some time now. How long has it been?
About 10 years now.
Yeah, pretty much for as long as we've known each other. We've very quickly started working together, built a family, and got married. So yeah.
So say, Andrea, how do you do it? How do you keep up with this man? Is got these billion ideas a second, like how do you keep up with him?
Very easy, Arthur. I'll just go with it. I just go with the flow. I have so many people asking me, is he like this all the time? And I say, yeah, all the time, from the moment he wakes up to the moment he goes to bed.
I'm not surprised,
That's just how it is.
Remember that Energizer bunny, like they just it just goes on forever. It's full of energy.
Balance it out. We have to balance it out. So when he's really, happy going and all that, I'll just mellow it down and I'm just being me. And then there is Bram.
Well, it sounds like you guys have found the winning formula. Maybe that's worth sharing in a book sometime or something. I think I'm thinking about it. It's like, I've got the perfect business part of it. I'm not sure if we actually go down that route, but it's probably worth sharing the ingredient to happy home and happy business. But anyway, as an idea. So what did you want today? Sorry, Bram.
You won't be surprised that that's one of our ideas, right?
Well, I think a lot of people have tried and trying or even thinking about it. So it's an interesting one. But well done to you both. 10 years in business together, in life together. And the one child at the moment, right? It's just the one. Okay, cool. It's a busy life. So congratulations. But today's topic, customer service excellence. I'm ready to learn about what you're going to talk about today. Is it a framework? Is it a model? Is it okay? Hit me up. I'm all ears.
Thank you.
Maybe before we jump into that, I think I just want to provide a bit of context where I found that this topic really might be good. I just recently got back from a conference in Langkawi where the whole theme of the 5 days was the 1%. And the 1% is a really interesting idea because just imagine now, yes, it can be competitive out there, whatever industry you're in, but there's certain people that just kind of float to the top whilst others sink while they're trying to swim. And the 99% of people do things in a certain way, whilst the 1% does things very differently. And I think part of that difference is definitely how they build relationships and maintain relationships with people. So over to you, Andrea. You have a framework, you have pillars. Over to you.
I do. But before I jump into my 5 pillars that I have, I guess created or came up with, my question to you and to everyone out there is that, have you had a situation where you walk into either a retail store or hospitality and you have had the most amazing customer service experience where it's unforgettable? You just go, wow, you've been totally wowed. And I know myself that, I can probably count on one hand how many times I have had that experience. Sadly so, very sadly so. And when I do experience that, I just want to go back and I want to give them more business and I want to do more work with them, whatever the situation might be. But I know I want to spend more money, right? So it's a human nature there.
Which she's good at, by the way.
Hey, I reckon you're pretty good at it too, mate. So don't you worry.
I'm in.
So it's a human nature that when we get treated right and when we are loved, appreciated, and understood, we just want to be more involved and we want to, give more of ourselves and more of our money, right? So that's it. But yeah, I'm happy to go through the framework. So
Well, before you do, to answer your question, not in a long time, I've felt that experience. And I think what's also happened is over time, I've actually lowered my expectations because,
yes,
like you just kind of, so yeah, not a lot. But I actually have a story I'd like to share once you've kind of taken us through about something that happened to me this week that I was actually, oh, wow. But to answer that question, few and far between.
yeah, and that's a bit sad, isn't it? That's actually
It's
quite
extremely sad. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I mean, it's sad and it's an opportunity.
Yes.
For our audience here, if you really take this to heart, you can really seriously differentiate yourself just with service.
Sure.
Anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So my first pillar is to listen. So like I said, there are 5 pillars, but my first pillar is to listen. And what do I mean by that? We think that we all listen, but the reality is that we are constantly thinking about what to say next or have something else in my mind. So I'm talking about active listening, and I'm sure you probably have heard this before. Use open-ended questions like what, why, how, describe, can you tell me more? So gather more information about whatever is the service that you're providing and whatever is it that you actually wanting to get from the client and help them with. So have the client in mind and listen very, very carefully. I would also say to go one step further is to read between the lines, because it's not sometimes what the client and the customer tells you, but it's about what they're not telling you. So do your best to read between the lines and see what they actually want and the needs are. So I had an example, like, for example, I was dealing with a hotel very recently where I wanted to book a hotel room that we're going to stay at. And I had this customer service person on the line, and he just wasn't listening anything at all what I was explaining and what I was saying. It was so annoying. All I felt is just this guy is just all about himself. He's operating from the ego and he's not actually even caring about what my requests are at all. So I got to the point where I hanged up, call back again. I just didn't want to deal with this person anymore. Call back again. But just kind of get second person, get different person on the phone. And this lady was completely different, heard everything that I was saying, repeated, completely understood me. So what do you think I did? I actually went and booked the room with her because, I really felt understood and heard what I wanted to do.
Was it the same hotel chain that you rang to get a different person? Did you ring a different hotel?
No, I rang the same job.
Oh, they got a second chance. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, definitely. Well, because I wanted to deal with with that. Yeah. But you are absolutely right. How often would you actually lose the client and they would go to our opposition because they just didn't get the outcome they were wanting to get the outcome. So that's a very, very good point. I thought that's absolutely 100% that does happen out there.
Yeah.
And you mentioned an interesting word, which is your second, basically, pillar already. So
So the next one that leads me to from the listening is basically care. You've got to use your heart. You've got to really genuinely care about the client and what their wants and needs are. And so when I say care, use personalized approach. So I'll give you a couple of examples of what I mean by personalized approach. When the client walks in, you obviously know their name. Just ask them those open-ended questions. Find out who they are, who the family is, who their children are, what the names are, what schools they go to. So next time when they come, you can actually have the conversation, and it will wow them. They'll be surprised, like, oh, wow, you remember my wife's or husband's name and my children's name. So that's a really, really important point, to really care from your heart and be empathetic and warm.
And authentic with it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Because, it's basically in a form of energy, and clients will pick up on that. If you're being just kind of like a once off, it can come across as a bit fake. But if you're doing it on a regular basis, and then that's who you are, and you're carrying out of your heart, well, client will actually pick up on that.
Yeah.
And you also taking the time to enter it into CRM system, so that other people can also benefit from the same information in the team.
That's right. So it can be as simple as, having a cup of coffee. So what type of coffee would you like? How do you like your coffee? Do you like biscuits or chocolates with it? So it can be very simple like that. Like some of your clients now might be already offering glass of water or the coffee. Take it to the next level. Give them biscuits, give them chocolates, give them whatever they like. So, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So it's Liam, your child's name, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Awesome.
Very good.
Good memory.
Well done. Excellent. That's exactly what we talked about.
I didn't look away to the monsters. I know that answer, but anyway.
Yes. Yeah, so be prepared for your customer. Have these notes ready before they come to the meeting, before they come and sign the contracts agreement. So,
and actually, if I can just interject there. So Andrea's background, we haven't really said that at the start. She actually has worked at one of the top hotels worldwide, being the Hyatt, and worked in the VIP lounge. So you can imagine the sort of training and experience she's built up in that environment where very important customers were just frequenting the place. Sure. There's certain things that have just gotten drilled into her. And so if you could just share, like what happened when you would see a guest come up, like a frequent guest, like what was one of the things you guys did?
Yes, absolutely. So, when the VIP would come in, we would have a general conversation. What brings them to the hotel? Is that a pleasure or business? And then I would find out, okay, if it's a business, what time they have to leave the hotel to get on time. And I would just have their coffee and, for example, food ready when they come to the lounge. So just make that process very quick and easy for them. So the coffee that they like, not just any sort of coffee, but, we would have on our CRM system what type of food, what type of coffee. And we would have special fruit, for example, for them, what they're like set up in a room and, things like that. So it just shows that extra care when they check into the hotel, like, wow, everything is ready for me, the things that I actually like and I prefer.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
For
Bram,
example,
yours is a piccolo, isn't it, Bram? You have the piccolo, don't you?
I would love to say yes, just to make you look good, right?
It's not the long black. You're a long black guy, are you? Of course you are. You're a long black guy.
I'm an oat latte.
All right, we'll type that one down. I got that one next time.
We'll update the system.
No, very good. Now, so far what we got is obviously the listening, the active, listening for unstated needs, open any questions. I know the point you say about care. I've actually written down the word heart. I think heart is the better representation.
Definitely.
Lead with the heart. And it's got to be authentic, right? Like, I mean, you can feel when someone's just asking questions and saying things to follow a protocol versus genuinely trying to make it the right impression. There's a difference.
100%.
It's either being in the head or being in your heart. And care can only come from this place.
Yeah,
so even though you might know what to do and you're doing it, if you're not projecting the right feeling, it ain't going to work.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So treat them like your friends and a family. How would you be with your own family when they come to your house? Well, of course, you're going to ask whether they would like to have a coffee or tea or what type of, and just treat your customers like a family. That's what I say.
Well, the caveat I will say is I don't like, for me, I'm a very, kind of like hey, don't get too close kind of guy. But there are questions I like, and there's probably questions that are probably too personal. I go, hey, relax. But totally, I think getting the right balance. There's probably a set of questions that you can ask without overstepping the boundary.
That's
and
right.
With confidence, knowing that you're not. And that would appeal to most personalities, for sure.
Absolutely. And it's got to be natural. So like you said before, it's got to be natural, kind of not the kind of like interrogating questioning, you can't be like, hang on, let me get out. It's got to be a natural thing.
Nice
Very
flow.
good.
Leave me on holiday. Leave me alone. I want to enjoy myself.
Now,
Well, it's probably a giveaway. They probably rock up to the counter in like, you know, the Hawaiian t-shirt and the funny hat. You know, that are going to be on a vacation, aren't they? But all good.
yeah.
What's number 3? Tell us.
So the next one is solution. And I'm talking about just being proactive in your solution and making the solution tailor-made to your client. So I'll give you an example. I have had, I've been talking to somebody recently, and they purchased, somebody quite close to me, that they purchased a home, or they were going to purchase a home. And they were not quite there financially, but they were only very short of a few thousands of dollars. And he said, look, the
real estate agent, right?
Yes. And we said, well, potentially that deal might have not gone through because of this particular situation. So the real estate agent has offered to the buyer to cover the gap of those few thousands of dollars. And therefore, you know, they bought a house, the seller sold the house, but also the real estate agent got the deal
by matching the difference out of his own paycheck,
out of his commit,
belong to the buyer, which was pretty clever, very proactive.
Yeah, fair enough. Yep.
So it's about providing, just going above and beyond, and providing a really, really good solution.
Yeah.
Or for example, if you know that you made a mistake, that you know, stuffed up somewhere or overpromised or didn't quite get something right, pick up that phone and just own up to it and give them a discount, or give them something as a saying, look, I'm sorry and I didn't get it quite right. So that bit extra, it's really, really powerful, and people will remember that for you. The clients will remember you for that.
Yep.
So that was a solution. I think we got 4 now.
We've got number 4 now.
So number 4, it's follow-up.
One of my favorites, by the way. I love follow-up.
I love relentless with follow-up.
And do you know that's why he's successful, right? Because the follow-up, as I'll tell you, very recently I did a mystery shopping for one of our clients, and it's amazing how little follow-up there actually was. Some staff or some clients were really, really good in the follow-up, but there was that percentage, and again we're going to that, you know, that 99% where didn't follow up at all. So
or poorly,
or very poorly. So my interest was very genuine. It was a mystery shopping, but my interest was very genuine in the product that I was mystery shopping for. Yep. And I provided them with all the details that they needed to know to follow up with me. And I had prepared the whole scenario, everything, so that way I can provide a good report. But I was really amazed how very little follow-up actually, and a good follow-up that was. So, whether you need to use an email or phone or anything, just wow them, just wow them with a good follow-up.
But really, even if you would have not the best solution, as in a product or a service, or you wouldn't have the best price or the best bonuses or the best package. Just imagine now, if you or your team are the ones that are just so good in their follow-up, that in itself gets people across the line.
Sure.
No matter the price, it might actually be even the dearest.
And it's all about timing as well.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how you do it. So, not pushy, but again, tidying it up to genuinely caring about that client and conveying that message across as well. It's just a genuine care, follow-up phone call or follow-up email. How are you going? Or once you have actually provided the service, well, how is everything going? How are you happy? Because guess what? That actually leads to referrals. So if you've done a really, really good job and then you follow up, you wow them even more, well, they'll be talking about you and they'll be referring you to other friends and family. So, and that's what we all want.
Yep. The battle is won on the stuff that most people don't do or don't do very well. And that's where you can excel. I think that's where people just go the extra mile.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing when you guys were talking about that is, if you're a consummate professional that takes great pride in delivering solutions, the follow-up is not even a thought. It just is a fait accompli. Like, if you've listened to someone and learned about their goals, their needs, and them not having them satisfied, a consummate professional knowing that information would be up thinking about that conversation until the point that they know that it's been done, regardless of whether it's gone through them or another party, because it's been resolved. And so if you haven't been fortunate enough to win that, I guess, association or that client, that they've had that goal need and met. Okay, great. So then it's the learning as to why, and then that's the follow-up to learn why. May I ask why, or where did you go? And then because you followed up, you'll get that answer. And if you've done all the right things, they won't hide from giving you that answer. And so then you learn as well with the follow-up. Yeah.
Love that. Yep, that's another angle.
Very true. Very, very true.
And look, I mean, the other thing as well, like I had one of our advisors, pitch for a deal, and they weren't successful. And my feedback was we talked about, the possible outs as to why. But I said, mate, follow up in 3 months, because chances are those larger organizations, they will slip up. And that's when your follow-up might be timely. So, and we both agree that that's a good idea, because in these big machines, the things can get missed, whereas in a smaller, which is what kind of didn't get him over the line this time, was it was that perception of security with size or lack of in this instance. But, it's your business, you're following up versus a large machine, potential layers and slip-ups in between who's doing what at what time. And then if you're front of mind, then you might get another opportunity to demonstrate why they should work with you. So yeah, definitely it's a multi-purpose step in your process for sure. Yeah.
Definitely. Good one. Definitely. That's a very, very good point. Very, very good point.
Now we've got one more left to go, and we also have a story that we want to hear from you.
That's
Arthur.
All right. That's exactly. I'm very curious.
Yes. I'll see the 5 pillars. I'm going to see the Acropolis later on this year. I'm not sure how many pillars are left.
Very good.
Hopefully at least 3. So it's not gonna.
It's still balancing it out.
Yeah, tell us the 5th one. Go ahead, by all means.
Okay. So the 5th one for me is being consistent. So that's really, really important. That's a key. The consistency is really important. It builds relationships, and especially in a larger organization, if you've got that consistency all the time, the people know, the clients know, the customers know, okay, when I go there, I get that service and I get looked after. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you an example. Very recently, I went to a retail store, and from the moment that I walked in, it was one of those places where you walk in, you get greeted, then you have a look at something, you get served by somebody else, then you put somebody else, and then somebody else puts that item through. So there was about 4 or 5 people that I dealt with. But one of the things that have absolutely amazed me was how positive, happy, and friendly all of them were. All of them, every single one of them.
And a seamless experience.
And I actually gave them the feedback. I said, wow, this is I was really wowed. Because, you can have very easy to have one or 2 people to have bad day or not to be towards the customers friendly. That were all of them. And, that's just, I had an amazing experience. So that consistency is really, really important. Be friendly. Yeah.
I think the interesting part there as well, and this is an interesting one, and it's the environment, I think, has a major role to play for that consistency. So finding, I think, people to work with and in your organization that understand how to separate their personal lives from their work lives is a skill that's not inherent. Like, we all have challenges in our personal lives, I get it, but as professionals, we need to separate the two and not bring those emotions into the workplace, which can happen. and that needs to be kind of managed to make sure that those emotions don't creep into the workspace, the environment, because then that gets communicated through the face-to-face interactions, the energy, the feeling of the service that's being delivered with the phone as well. So that's important. That if you choose to be in a service industry, you need to understand how to separate the two. It's not acceptable that you allow your personal situation or circumstances interfere with your profession, right? So that's number one. You got to take that upon yourself. But the other thing is the environment. Like, and sometimes I look at myself because I spend a lot more time in the office, and I'm always thinking I need to get in there, do the cameo. Hey, going everyone? What's going on? And just make sure that everyone's feeling in that light, happy space. Whereas we're so busy, and and everyone's like, and then that just permeates around the room, and it's contagious, right? So you lose that consistency because that the environment is a sum of all people in it. And if you've got an environment of 10 people and 3 or 4 rock up that are in that space, it will drag down the rest, and so you got to be conscious of making sure, calling it out, and just making it. There was something I learned a long time ago was always ask, what was the question? It's something along the lines of, not exact words, but ask the question, what's your headspace? What's your mindset right now? Just asking them, what's your mindset right now?
Yes.
Instead of saying,
or to ask someone else.
Yeah, someone else. So let's say you can see that are a bit, off, and instead of calling out and say, you shouldn't be doing that. That's probably the wrong way to approach it, because then they feel like they're getting told off.
Yeah.
Ask the question is, what's your headspace right now? And they'll go, oh. Then they'll self-realize. They go, oh, actually, I'm not in a good as it. Okay, so what's happened? And then they acknowledge and then get over it. Whereas if you kind of I learned this a long time ago in customer service. I was with a bank at the time, I reckon. And there was really just asking the question, what's your headspace right now? Like, where you at? Like, where you at? Versus, I notice that you're down. And then you get sucked into that conversation vacuum. And then it's about managing them out of that. Well, you don't want to manage them out of it. You want them to realize that they're in the right headspace and just self-correct.
It's a good question.
It's an interesting way of doing it. But further, the consistency. Okay, so with the 5 pillars: listen, heart, solution, follow-up, and consistency. Very good. Any closing comments before I share my story?
Yes, I'm looking forward to that, by the way. But yeah, look, definitely the energy, ultimately they're dealing with you. They're dealing with you as a person. So you've got to mind your energy. And I love what you said about keeping that energy up and checking in with yourself. So, there are ways how you can do that before you meet your client, and that you're not in that happy space, or there are things that you can check in with yourself, close the door before the client comes, go and check, if you can go for a little walk, or just sit in the chair, take a few deep breaths, and get yourself in that space that helps you to deal with clients more in a loving way from the heart, right?
Meditate.
Yeah.
The hum. Look, the word that comes to my mind, and it's an interesting one, but it's 3 letters, is joy. Like, you have to find a joy in doing what you do, no matter what it is. Otherwise, life can be quite difficult. Sorry, Bram, go ahead.
I call it a spark. I've got to say it. You've got to find joy. You've got to find a spark.
I love it. But you gotta have a joy in what you do. And I hear so many times, I want to follow this process. I'm going to follow this process. But okay, there's no joy that you feel in. You got to feel a joy in taking a client through your experience, not through your process. It's like. I'm just always listening. I want to take you through my process. Clients don't want to go through a process. I want to give you a fantastic experience.
Yes.
It's a different feel, right? And when you deliver that with joy, you make sure that you're asking those right questions, and the way you do it comes across authentically with the heart, and your solutions are coming from not a self-motivated, but a win-win motivated place And the follow-up is the opportunity to close and or learn, and the consistency is how you build momentum and then get the confidence, and then it just becomes a rolling, just a rolling thing.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. So look, I mean, that's the way I see it. I love them. I love the framework, but it's that word joy. It's like, if you're not receiving or feeling joy in that, it's, maybe consider some other options to find that joy, so you can actually, deliver. The story I had, it's an interesting one, and we're a competitive marketplace like anyone else, and we have one of my advisors wrote me a wonderful email. Monday was an interesting day. It was a topsy-turvy day yesterday, but I got an email from him in the morning, and he'd been approached by a competitor, and so that competitor was best described as like a specialist in a particular advice field, and he is in that specialist advice field, whereas our business is more for like just generalist, holistic advice. Whereas he was like a more niche advisor, and the conversations had progressed. And I recently hit the road and spent some time in various cities, catch up with some of our advisors, just that personal stuff. Now, admittedly, we didn't get huge numbers. Am I still here?
Yeah.
Sorry. I just blanked out for a second. Admittedly, I didn't get huge numbers every city, but I went to Sydney, went to Melbourne, did a whole bunch. So I did them all pretty much, and I caught up with a handful each time. And this particular advisor was there. And I got to say, like, I didn't know any of this. I only knew this and learned this on Monday. But when I saw him, it was really good to see him. Like, it was like, a big hug. How you going? How's things? Poor guy's in the back of his going, oh my God, I'm kind of like, half one foot out the door potentially. And it's not personal, it's business. I get it, right? Like, I understand. If they feel they're going to get a better solution from a specialist provider, then of course they're going to listen to it.
Mm.
But it was that moment. I hadn't seen him for a while. It was really good to see him, and it was a hug. How you going? How you been? And then we spent a couple of hours together. Had a meal, a few drinks. It was great. Just that soft stuff, right? And so in the email, he basically said, "Well, despite how attractive it might be, I'm not going because spending time with you." Listening to what you're going and what you're doing, it just reminded me why I'm here.
Because he felt that heart better, felt your heart.
Yeah, that's right. But that's what I'm saying. It's you got to have a joy when you see your clients. And they don't feel like, if I saw him, I was like, hey, hang on, man, like, what's going on? Like, how's business? And you compliant? Like, did you do this and you do that? And the interrogation. Yeah, he's not gonna have a bar of that. He ain't interested. But it was like the real big genuine hug. How you going? What's going on? How's life? What's going on? Tell us what's new. And it's that joy. And if you master that, just everything is better.
Yes, absolutely.
Because the customer experience is right. It's at the right level.
That's right.
Yeah. Process.
I think you've got to get extra.
Trying to get sorry, Andrea, trying to get that consistency across, but that's the challenge. Is trying to be everywhere and trying to deliver that joy across many.
Yes.
It's got to be like the moments that you have physically, you've got to really be on point, but then it's the communications, it's how you communicate, the words you use in your communications, the consistency of the communication. So yeah, it's a lot there to unpack, but that's my story. And I'm just so glad he's staying. So
that's a great story, Arthur. That's a really great story. And what you did there, you basically were, using your heart and love to express to what you were feeling for this guy. And what a fabulous outcome, him staying with you.
And he rewards you with the right thing. I mean, we talk about karma. You build goodwill, you build momentum.
It's fantastic. Yeah. And he, and look, he'll always speak well of us. I get it. And he's a bit of in his geography, he's a bit of a glue out there. Like he's like, a bit of a person that will, get everyone to get together, and he's big on culture, And so these are the type of people that you got to make sure that you remain real close and connect with. But that was my story. But the word joy, I think, in my past lives, I've heard the word, surprise and delight. Like everyone's used this delight word. I get it, but I think the word for me is joy.
Yes.
I love it.
That's a great word. I love it too.
Yeah.
Excitement.
And clearly the guy shares the spark. So great.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Everyone, look, great session. Great to catch up with you both. Andrea, thank you so much for sharing your framework, your experiences, and like the detail was really nice. But I wholeheartedly think this is a very sensible approach, but backed up with the heart and the joy.
Yes.
It's a great way to go. So, Bram,
You.
we might have some new branding and colors. I mean, we don't want to break the news yet. Maybe we do it with Kylie, but it will be a new look, fresh look. I guess what we call a webinar, if we call it that, live stream coming up. Drum rolls, please. But we'll keep you posted. Otherwise, we will see you before Easter, maybe. I think so. Before Easter, maybe it might be during or after. So we might get the date right. But if I don't see you, have a lovely break. Andrea, thank you so much. Good to see you. And
It's been a pleasure, likewise.
Sounds good. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy.
Joy.
Joy.